you're not gonna.
So, here we are, 21 days, feeling great, and I'm just gonna start in. So, I've been meditating on what I'm gonna be doing with this idea that I'm gonna be documenting all my stuff for my own self and hopefully to help other people. And I really hope that this helps anyone out there who is suffering or trying to navigate their way out of their own sort of patterns. So, today we're going to talk about forgiveness. What is forgiveness? Who does it affect? How valuable is it? And, maybe how to apply it and how to look at it on some deeper levels. So, what is forgiveness? Well, forgiveness is releasing somebody from a prison that we have metaphysically trapped them in, and we, it could be very, very justified. Maybe someone has hurt you in deep, deep ways that cause trauma that you have to work out. Maybe family members have caused some very difficult problems in your reality, and you're dealing with your own family. Maybe a partner has done, some despicable things. Healing is going to be a lot harder of a process when you're containing contempt and resentment for somebody. It doesn't mean that the person has gotten away with what they have done, but I believe if somebody is accountable, that squirrel nearly didn't make it. I believe if somebody is accountable and sincere with an apology, perhaps it's time to allow them redemption. We contain the disdain against people, and what it does is makes you internalize, makes you distracted, makes it really, really hard to be in the moment, especially if, let's say, you're close to the person or they keep coming up in your environment, be it socially or even on media, on our streams and whatnot. And yeah. So what are you going to do about it? We have to look at the base of offense and what were the driving factors behind it. Why did this person do this to you? Perhaps they were in a terrible cycle and trapped in a pattern, and their coping mechanisms were to be selfish. And as somebody like myself who is trying to work out these issues, looking at the bigger picture of the offense is a much better way to perceive it. We become understanding of the higher situation, and looking at these people more as humans and less in our own narrative, which is very healthy. It's a good way to start processing these things instead of trapping them. I've gone through some pretty traumatic events in my life that I won't get into here. We'll say with exes, and I held on to that for a very long time because I had to process a lot of the pain, and I had to deal with loss of family. I had to deal with betrayal, and I had to deal with someone that I deeply, deeply loved and thought I was going to be spending the rest of my life with. Deal with them losing their self and falling into some pretty awful things. And it's taken me years to get over this. I think that I am kind of dealing with it now. I definitely understand the situation that they were in more, especially with me going through what I'm going through. And with that, I do kind of personally have forgave them and understood that. I haven't told them. And that's the interesting thing about forgiveness, is that we don't particularly have to tell the person. Perhaps they're not even alive anymore. Perhaps, the bridge is so burnt that we won't be going back to even communicating with that person. But you can allow yourself to forgive them. You can understand where they were coming from. And you can release them and release yourself from the bondage that it makes. Confucius talks about how revenge, when acted upon, 2 graves need to be dug. One for the person that you're casting revenge on, and the other for yourself. Because we destroy ourselves when we decide to even act upon those things in our mind and ruminate. It destroys you. It really does. Again, it's a pretty easy way to kind of relapse into our old patterns. Drinking, substance abuse, eating. So, think about that person who has done you wrong and understand why it was. What happened? How are you acting? A lot of times offense comes from people that are offended by your actions, and revenge comes, and shady acts come from people who only know how to deal with things in that manner. Maybe they needed a little bit of redemption in there, or justification of their actions, or whatever. Now, so this leads me to the second part of the idea. I myself forgive people a lot, and I did that almost out of like a lower self-esteem at one point, because I still wanted people around me, no matter what offense they were doing, or maybe the advantages that they were taking upon me. And I would be offended, but I would be quick to forgive. And perhaps they weren't even being accountable or being sincere about their apologies. However, I would allow forgiveness so I could deal with my situation and still be able to deal with these people. Now, if I was so quick to forgive them, why wasn't I that quick to forgive myself for things that I have done? And this is something that I'm working with right now. Forgiving myself for burning bridges with exceptional people. For perhaps representing myself in despicable and self-destructive ways, which probably caused me a little grief in my life. A lot of people don't want to hang around you when you're acting a fool or bringing negative attention to yourself. It's not a good look. And I cringe when I think about a lot of things that I've done when I was in the throes of a drunk or a binge. And I am learning to understand that I can release myself from that bond too. I need to forgive myself for a lot of things. And I'm working with it. It takes being accountable and admitting wrongs that I've done to people, or being completely transparent with my substance abuse problems. It's really helped. Hiding all of those issues took a lot of energy out of me, and I'm finding, again, day 21, I'm finding I have all these stores of energy and these real awesome personality traits that I thought I was only able to evoke when I was on substances. But that's not true. I love talking. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing this thing. So I'm learning to admit that I acted in ways that, were pretty cringeworthy. And You know, perhaps it's not that people were assholes. So maybe I was acting like one, even though I thought I was just having a good time. I might have said some fucking terrible things to you. I don't know, whoever you are, whoever's watching this. I might have said awful things to you. I might have acted in really terrible ways. I might have acted in ways that were super self-destructive and made people that love me very scared for me. Which is a horrible thing to reflect upon now. Even in my self-destructive behavior and laziness to deal with issues, those in turn turned into very offensive facts for people and probably drove them away in my life. And for me, I would get offended that they would leave. Or I would be sad and be mad at myself for acting in those ways. You learn from it, you build. So that's what we should do. Don't hold on to those things, because they're going to keep you in a trap and in a prison, one that you set for yourself or one that you set for others. And that cycle of resentment and that cycle of contempt is nothing but poison for your soul. Really, when it comes down to it, you're poisoning yourself by not releasing yourself from these things. So, allow yourself a moment to breathe and reflect and maybe understand why you were acting in ways or someone was acting in ways. Look at the bigger picture. What was the motivators behind these things? And understand that we're all fucking human. And we all have done very cringeworthy things, things that we're not proud of. You know, the difference between moving forward and being stuck in that is being able to release yourself from it. So give yourself some time. On that, I'm going to sign off. Big up Steel City and everyone who stuck around to the end of this. I love you guys.